Phase 2 in the MCU is a little bit of a mixed bag for me, but for every Dark World, we have a Winter Soldier. Say what you want about those films, but some of the characters introduced are simply amazing. Vision is perfect. AntMan is a very welcome addition, and there's a very complex and wonderful turn with Bucky. Today we are recasting these characters from Phase 2 as if it happened today. In the last video I tackled the 6 original Avengers, so it only makes sense to go into Phase 2 and tackle the ones who come next. But before we get started today, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Surfshark. Now, Surfshark is a VPN that allows you to protect your data from it being breached, which is great. But if I'm being honest, I mainly use it to change my IP address so I can watch things that aren't available in my country. Like if you live in the States and you want to revisit some of those classic MCU films on Netflix, well, sorry, you're out of luck. Or you can change your IP address to Canada and watch the MCU without paying for Disney+. And the great thing about Surfshark is it allows unlimited devices. So use promo code BrianSeeker to get 83% off and 3 months extra free. So check the link in the description below for more details. Now for the video today, I actually decided to leave the Guardians of the Galaxy in a separate video, because they're a whole different beast. But still, there are some amazing characters in Phase 2, and some amazing characters we're tackling today. Today I'm recasting Falcon, Winter Soldier, Ant-Man, Vision, War Machine, Quicksilver, and Scarlet Witch. So let's recast the Avengers for today. First up, let's tackle Falcon. Now with Falcon, he becomes increasingly more important as the universe evolves and changes. Much like Cap, he's patriotic, but he's extremely loyal. He's got this honesty to him in his dialogue that can bleed into almost this funny, sarcastic nature, but beyond that, he's got that moral compass, and he's very grounded. Now, I really like Anthony Mackie in this role, but I feel like Corey Hawkins might be just as good. I loved him in Straight Outta Compton, where he played a really emotional character, and he did a great job as that humorous sidekick in The Heights. But most importantly, he's got that emotional depth and that grounded nature that Falcon really needs.
You think we're done here?
Yeah, I mean,
You got something to say to me?
You don't care what I'm fighting for, okay? I already know what I want to do with my life. And it definitely ain't sitting in some cubicle taking orders on.
Now, I worked my ass off to get us here, and I refuse to let you throw it all away.
I think he'd knock this one out of the park. So Corey Hawkins as Falcon. Next up, let's do Vision. Now, to say I was blown away by Vision in Age of Ultron is an understatement. I couldn't picture a more comic book accurate representation that works so well within the universe. Paul Bettany is perfect as Jarvis, and now as Vision. Now, we obviously need that voice as well as a performer here. This character starts off as Jarvis, but most importantly, we need an actor who can evolve, someone who's got that presence, but feels beautiful yet robotic, someone who can play into that almost naive nature that he has, but with extreme certainty and cadence. Now, I went with Jude Law, who I feel like is one of the few actors living today who might actually be able to match Bettany's performance. I do think he is a little bit on the older side for a role like this one, but CGI and makeup could definitely make those wrinkles go away. I mean, just listen to his voice.
I think you're afraid of letting go. I think you're afraid of happiness. Are you afraid of seeing the stars, Patricia?
I think he's killing it as Dumbledore, and he's got that voice with that little bit of personality that I think would shine through wonderfully in this role. So Jude Law is Vision. Up next, let's tackle the twins, probably the most underwhelming part of Age of Ultron. Much like others out there, I felt the twins really never found their stride within the film, and it really wasn't until much later that Scarlet Witch really grew into something amazing. Now, I think this might be the only case in the MCU, but I think we can actually improve on this. Not with casting choices per se, but their role in the film and how they're portrayed. Now with the twins, I've always had a couple issues. I want the pair to feel like they've been worn down and experimented on, and also young. They were just a little bit too quippy and seemed like they didn't really have a care in the world when they're supposed to be driven by their parents' death. I want to go darker and go younger. Aaron Taylor Johnson seemed like he was a 30-year-old man in the film. Now Quicksilver is the real change here, so let's tackle him first. Now I want someone who is Jewish like the character should be, but someone who can play that beaten down and vengeful. It definitely seems like they're from a poor, war-stricken country. I want someone who feels like they're in their late teens and definitely can sell the dark before that eventual turn. I went with a lesser-known choice here, and ended up going with Austin Abrams, who's got, let's just say, a very different look than Johnson's. Now, he's really impressed me in the roles I've seen him in, and he's got this darkness to him, which I don't think you can really quantify. And I could just see him selling this journey.
Your dad's just gonna get more people killed. Because that's what he does.
That's who he is. Your dad's a killer.
I think he'd also do the quippy if you really want to do that, but a less in-your-face way than Johnson really did it. I like that he looks younger, skinnier, and definitely more worn down. So Austin Abrams as Quicksilver. As for Scarlet Witch, we still need this journey for her. I don't want to change her as drastically as her brother, because I think she works overall, but the main thing here is we need an incredibly capable actress. Someone who feels like that outsider, but finds her way within this group. Now, I do think that there's a level of creepiness that is needed here, and that's why I think Anya Taylor-Joy feels like she was born to play this character. She's got that perfect level of weird and creepy, but also can sell us on that transformation. I think she'd be absolutely wonderful here, and she's one of the best young actresses working today.
You're not a doctor. Now I've known men like you. Men who like to keep children trapped in cages. I've known them. And I've killed them.
So Anya Taylor-Joy as Scarlet Witch. Up next, let's tackle Ant-Man. Now, I love Paul Rudd. I mean, who doesn't? I think a silly take that really leans into his personality for Scott Lang is a welcome addition. But I do feel we have so many just quippers across the MCU, he does fall a little bit by the wayside. Much like Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man, I don't think you can just replace Paul Rudd with someone and have them do the same thing. You need someone who plays into their own strengths. Now, where I feel Ant-Man works best is he's an everyman, someone who roots the team back into reality and realizes the insane scenarios that they are set in. I want someone who can play into that comedy, but also that unsure nature. Now, my second choice, who just narrowly got beat out, was Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who I think would work extremely well, but I think he might just play this a touch too serious. That's why I end up going with Adam Scott. Now, he's got that situational humor down to a T, but I think he could actually lean into that little bit more of awkwardness, which I think could actually make him stand out amongst the MCU.
Hi.
Hey, nope. Wyatt?
Been a long time, eh, Captain? Or Captain? Oh, Captain, my Captain! From Dead Poets Society.
You getting weird already?
Nope, I'm good.
Now, don't get me wrong, he's nowhere close to Paul Rudd in terms of likability, but I think he'd bring a different type of humor here, and something that's just a touch different than what we see in the MCU. So Adam Scott as Ant-Man. Next, we have War Machine. Now, Don Cheadle is one of the few casting decisions I don't like within the MCU. Don't get me wrong, I don't think he's bad here, and I really love Don Cheadle in other roles, but I've never seen him as War Machine. I think he's much better with complex and more fragile roles. And he always seems like he's a little bit weak-chinned to me. I really want someone who has that military, forceful presence, and someone who can bring some weight to this role. Like if current War Machine vanished from the MCU tomorrow, I don't think I'd care. I think a different actor may change that for me. Now we need someone similar in age to the Tony Stark we cast, but someone who has more weight to them. And that's why I went with the amazingly talented Sterling K. Brown. Now, if you've ever seen This Is Us, Waves, or even American Crime Story, you've seen his powerhouse performances. I can honestly say he's one of the best actors working today. I think he can play that military presence of power, but sometimes have to go outside the lines.
You've presented a defense that is based completely on lies and deceptions, inflaming the public's passions in an attempt to exert political pressure over his honor. In an attempt to pressure the court into admitting in the Furman tapes.
Mr. Darby.
This case is a circus.
He did have a brief role in Black Panther, but again, that's largely forgettable, and I think he needs a much bigger role within the MCU. So Sterling K. Brown as War Machine. Lastly, we have Winter Soldier. Now, when talking about the great performances in the MCU, I feel like Sebastian Stan is just overlooked quite a bit. I mean, he's one of the main reasons that I think the Captain America trilogy is the best trilogy within the MCU. He plays this dark and disturbed character in an extremely natural and great way. But most importantly, he hasn't broken from that. Now, I really had a tough time with this one, but I wanted to find an actor who feels like they could be a hero before the transformation, but someone who can really battle with themselves afterward. I also need someone who works incredibly well with Glenn Powell, who I cast as Captain America, and someone who's roughly around the same age. Now, I went with a weird choice here, and someone who has that little bit of Robert Pattinson syndrome that he got a bad rep from just one role. I went with Jamie Dornan, who, yes, 50 Shades of Grey is far from good, but the man is actually incredibly talented, and he's having something of a resurgence. He has that classic look that I think works well for this character, but he also can do that disheveled and grimy for his days as the Winter Soldier.
Happy birthday.
Oh. Oh, it's real science-y.
Yeah,
Thanks, man.
I like certain things.
You know, you think the wedding day is going to dissolve that, and it is profound, but, you know, the doubts, they never do.
I get it, bro. You're a guy in a relationship.
The main reason why I cast him is for his role in The Tourist that just premiered. You can see this character shining through in just a little bit. He's a character who has no idea who he is and just kind of has the right vibe for this.
Either I have the worst luck in the world or someone's trying to kill me.
To be fair, I think having the worst luck in the world would be someone trying to kill you.
So Jamie Dornan as Winter Soldier. So there is my Phase 2 Avengers. We've got Phase 3, the villains, probably the Guardians after that. Let me know who I shouldn't miss. Do you want to see Nick Fury, Maria Hill, and all those people working in the background? As well as let me know your choices for these roles. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.